So I bought this E30 a couple weeks ago. You guys have seen me do some paint correction on it, wash the car, clean underneath the car, and do some regular just cleanup of the interior. But now we're going to be fixing the sloppy steering in this bad girl today. So on older BMWs, they have a big bulky steering rack, and it's made out of rubber that kind of deteriorates over time and makes the steering really sloppy. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing that with a Condor Speed Shop steering shaft. The steering shaft is first of all going to make the swap that we're going to do later in the build a lot easier, because a lot of the V8 swaps don't work with the stock steering shaft. And because it is so bulky, you can kind of see it right there. It's about 2 inches wide. So swapping to the Condor Speed Shop one, it's going to leave for a lot more clearance, and it's going to get rid of the sloppy steering. The best part about Condor Speed Shop is that they also make two different steering shafts, and one of them is for a late model E30, the one with the airbag. Now the reason why this is different is because the steering shaft is longer or shorter depending on if you have an airbag or not. So you can see they have a nice engraving on it, and it's very high quality. It should be great for the job, so let's get in on installing this bad boy. So we have the car on ramps right now so that we can get underneath it. What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to unbolt the steering rack and pull it forward so that we can get the old steering shaft out. And what I also did was I pulled off the two covers on the floor pan so that we can get underneath it, because this is where the steering rack actually connects to the steering wheel. What I also did was I disconnected the battery so that the running lights in the car won't be on the whole time and drain the battery. So on the two panels, you're going to want to disconnect. I believe there's 3 bolts underneath here, and they are 8mm, and then there are screws going along here just to get more access. So going underneath the car, you can see I have a skid plate that is going to have to come off because I have to get to the steering rack. But if you look back here, all we're going to have to do is disconnect this bolt, which is a 13mm, and you can see when I wiggle the shaft, nice. It's very just like loose, and you can see that this rubber piece is the part that normally causes the loose steering. So it's very dirty under here, so we're gonna try to not get too much stuff in our eyes. But yeah, let's get we're also gonna be disconnecting this one as well. So this one and this one down here, they're both 13mm. And then we're going to pull the skid plate off so that we can get to the bolts to pull the steering rack forward. So I went ahead and took out this bolt that holds the power steering shaft in, or the rack, and you can see that it has a little bit of give. You guys probably can't see that, but what we're gonna do next is we're going to take off this bolt with a 13mm, and then this bolt down here also with a 13mm. All right, if you guys know Greta from my other video, she is very crusty down there still, so I got a pair of goggles. So yeah, these are pretty stylish. If you want them, go cop a pair. But what we're gonna do, I don't want any dust and stuff in my eye, because I already started just pointing at the stuff, and I swear dirt was falling in my eyes. So I'm gonna use this just to protect my eyes, just so that I'm not worried about it. And then we're going to get those bolts off with that 13mm, and then we'll be able to jump inside the car and hopefully get those bolts out as well. Okay, so after like 3 minutes of being down underneath Greta, we got the bolts off, but we are all dirty and we need to go into the interior next. So we're going to wash up and then do that. So if we look at where the steering shaft is, again, on the 1991 models or models with the airbag, the later models, so on the early models, the steering shaft ends right at the brake booster, or like where it is. But if you track it and go into the car, you can see down here that this is the steering shaft, and it goes all the way into that same U-joint up here. So we're gonna have to get that off and then feed it through the firewall. To get the best angle, you're gonna want to lay upside down and put your head around the steering wheel. Oh God, the blood is rushing to my head. And just like that, you got it. Oof. So we are for sure not going to be able to get that big ass knuckle through the firewall. So what we have to do is bring the steering shaft forward, push it forward a little bit, and then we'll try to pull it down to get the steering rack off. What I might do is hammer that one off, and then what we'll be able to do is push it through the firewall and then pull that side down. Okay, you guys can see that I just knocked the shaft off. So that's just hanging there. What we're gonna do is we're going to try to pull this back, and we should have enough clearance to push it back and get underneath the car again to push it out this way. So what I did was I tried to hit it with a hammer, but I couldn't get the hammer in there. So I ended up just pulling, since the shaft inside the steering wheel had room to move. I just ended up pulling these two apart. So now that big knuckle is still on there, but I can pull this shaft out of the main part. Maybe it'll be easier to push it through. Okay, I'm gonna go inside the car and try to pull that. Okay, so we got half of the shaft out. Now we just need to start getting that big yoke off. Okay, so after wrestling this thing, I finally got it out. And you can see the old one, right, versus the new one. So again, this is going to change a lot. Again, this rubber piece, see how kind of much it bounces? That's what leads to the sloppy steering. You can see just how much it can move. But so what we're gonna do is we're going to test fit each side. We'll throw it on, and then what we'll do is we'll put the rod in towards the driver's seat, and then we'll be able to fit the bottom side in and then go to the top side. Okay, so I got one of the sides on, and it is important to note that these two joints are different. So like the first one that I tried didn't fit on the steering shaft, but then this one did. So yeah, that's noted. That's partially in. We might need to adjust it when we get the full rod in, but I'm gonna shove that through the firewall and then we'll try to get it figured out. So what I did was I pushed the rod through, I connected it on the other side, not just loosely, and then you can see the gap from where it is and where we're trying to get to. So we will try to put this yoke on and try to fit it to that, and we'll kind of play around with it and get the correct fitting on it. But this install has been a little bit tricky, but it's not too bad. Condor Speed Shop is an amazing company. They have a whole bunch of bushings for E30s, E36s, E46s. They also make this steering rack and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I even went ahead and threw their sticker on the back, along with a Project Race Car sticker over there. So that's sweet. So we got those two stickers in. Again, Condor Speed Shop, an amazing company. I reached out to them and they are super helpful. So again, I'll leave their link in the description down below. But if you need any parts for your E30, check there first. But let's test it, fit this, and try to get this job done. Okay, I got everything kind of mocked up. What I'm gonna do, since that isn't fitting, is I'm going to go underneath the dashboard and pull that out and then fit it to this. That way I can fit the spline in there, if that makes any sense at all. But we'll do it, we'll get it mocked up, and then we'll take the rod out, mark 2 of the spots on the where I need to drill so that the set screws won't fall out, and then we'll get some Loctite from O'Reilly's and we will be back. So there are these 2 holes in here, and we're just going to mark it with a Sharpie. And then we'll do the same thing on this side, if I can fit it, and mark it with a Sharpie. Cool. And then we'll do the same thing with the top, and then we'll pull this rod out and then we'll drill into it. But this coupler will stay on because it was a pain to get on, so we'll keep this one on. Okay, so we got the 2 holes drilled on both sides, so now we're going to throw it in the car, and then we'll be able to tighten down the locking screws. I just wanted these to sit in there, so. And you guys can see that the hole is lining up, so we'll thread in the little lock things and we'll throw Loctite in them. I'm using red Loctite, so. So the old rack is out and the new one is in. On top of the regular screws, you put a bolt on there, a nut, also with Loctite. Let me try to zoom in. So I also put a nut on there. They come with the kit, but overall this install wasn't all that bad. We got everything all fit up. So now it's time to clean up the garage, put everything back together, and then take her for a test drive. So just to show everybody, this is the amount of play that's in the actual unit. Again, you don't feel this all the time, but this is kind of what leads to all the sloppy feel in the car. So hopefully this new product took everything away, but we will just have to test it. So we're going on a test drive right now. We're going to see how the car feels, see how the steering feels. It already just right out of the driveway feels so much cleaner. The steering wheel is for sure still way too big for the car, so I want to get a new steering wheel, but my goodness, that takes away all of the play. Again, you used to be able to turn the wheel and nothing would happen for the first quarter inch. And I mean, I turn the wheel and it feels good. So we're kind of just going to be testing out the parts, seeing if anything's rubbing, trying to hear for anything. But it seems pretty good just already. And we won't go too far as well because it might actually rain, and we just got the E30 fixed, or just got it cleaned up. So okay, this feels so much better. Let me roll up the windows. I'm trying to hear for anything, see if anything's going wrong, make sure that I have all the pieces and everything. The car for sure feels interesting, but I don't know what that's from. Is rubbing on the inside of the shock. So let me and check that out real quick. But just look how good she looks though. She's gonna be an absolute unit. But like I said, Condor Speed Shop is an amazing aftermarket support for, God, my hands are so dirty. But they're an amazing aftermarket support for the E30 and BMW community. They have a whole bunch of parts. I'm going to be ordering a lot of stuff from them, more so bushings and stuff like that. They have a lot of stuff on their website. So if you guys do have a BMW, go ahead and check that out. This steering rack feels amazing. There's no play with it. It's very direct. So none of the tires seem to be rubbing, but that's an issue for another day. Again, we're strictly reviewing the Condor Speed Shop, their steering rack, and it is one of the best mods, like best first mods to do for any BMW that has sloppy steering. It really changed the entire feel of the car. You can really feel the road. Next, I'm going to be replacing the shifter because it has about 2 feet of throw. And so really just we're trying to make Greta feel as driver car as possible. So we want it to feel like brand new rather than feeling like a 30-year-old car. But the steering rack, the steering shaft was definitely a good place to start with that. For the actual install, it was fairly easy, fairly straightforward. It was a little bit annoying just because I had to work underneath the dashboard and then work underneath the car, so I had to switch like between the two a lot, but it was really straightforward, super easy, and very well worth the money and time. Again, it wasn't I think that anybody could do this. The most I needed was 17 mil, 13 mil, and yeah, and a hammer, and that was pretty much it. So basic tools, and yeah, really improves the actual steering feel of the car. But yeah, so the car feels so much better. It actually turns when I tell it to, which is a crazy thought, but no more sloppy steering for the E30. She is planted now. Now we're gonna try to find a correct size steering wheel that's gonna make this car feel as small as it does. With this big steering wheel, the car feels pretty big. Like just the steering feels big, which is an interesting concept, but so yeah, so we'll clean up, get a new steering wheel. We'll probably end up selling this one, and then we'll be able to keep rolling with the E30. The best part about this steering shaft is that it's used to, first of all, clean up the steering, make it feel a lot smoother, and also it's needed for any V8 swap into an E30, which is what I plan to do. So we needed it to, first of all, make the car feel better, but second off, we needed it for the actual swap that we're going to do. So I figured might as well knock out 2 birds with 1 stone and make this the first mod for the car. So that's what we did, and again, all in all, it took me, don't go, all in all, it took me a couple hours, about 3 total, but I was also not working too hard and just kind of feeling everything out, so I took my time with it, but it was really an easy mod and very well worth it. Get up the driveway. But that was the end of the video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for Condor Speed Shop for the awesome product. It did fit the 1991 BMW 318IS, and it works really well. But until next time, my name is Ryan, this is Project Race Car. Have an amazing day. Peace.